Good afternoon or morning, depending, depending what part of the country you're in. Could be morning. Today is September 10th, and this is our 42nd Mastermind call. Thank you all for taking a half hour out of your lives to show up today. I will remind everybody one more time, this is intended to be your call, and we really very much want your participation. I think you guys know who we are, and if you don't, I don't think you really care. You want to be successful with these leads, so please participate in the call, ask questions, share success stories, share your issues that you're having. And at any time during the call, if you want to do that, just hit *6 and hit 1. And as soon as we see we have a question, we'll stop talking and we'll go to our questions. But you can hit *6 and 1 at any time, and somebody's already in the queue. Great. All right, well, you will be the first questionnaire in just a few minutes, area code 612. Thank you. Tom, anything? Tim, anything you want to share with the group? Any comments?
No, not really. I mean, we continue to sharpen our axe. I guess I'll give you a quick update about where we are on the addition of adding divorce to our offerings. I think a couple of weeks ago we mentioned that we're continuing to work to add that to our available product line, and we are continuing to do that. We expect to have a good handle on that, hopefully by this time next week. We said we were going to do it this week, but I think the holiday kind of got in our way, and some of our researchers unfortunately decided that they needed to take a break during the holidays, so we don't have all our information back from the places that we decided to start first. And so as soon as we have that info, we're going to take a quick look and roll out kind of a beta of our divorce offering. And once we have that in hand, then we'll make a general availability of it, and off we go. So just keeping you posted that we know we need to get that out, and that's our next thing on our agenda, and we're going to be working on that soon. That's all I have.
Yeah, that's perfect. And the way we decided on that, guys, we put it out on the last 3 or 4 calls who's interested in divorce leads. So those are the areas we're targeting first, where we know we have good existing customers that would be interested, and those are the areas we're getting the information first. If you haven't done so and you think you might be interested in divorce leads, just send me an email, jim@alltheleads.com, and just say I might be interested in divorce, and we'll target your area next. Not interested in getting a divorce, but interested in helping people that are getting one.
Hey, I was going to.
Yeah, because we don't care. Well, not that we don't care, but we can't help you with that. You got to call a good attorney. Chad, welcome back from your world travels. Our partner trainer Chad has been gone for a couple weeks backpacking all over Europe, and I think he had a great time. Chad, any comments or anything you want to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up where I left off and remind everybody we are going to start the Probate Mastery webinar series now. We probably have around 10 people that will be in the first group so far, and I've right now penciled in those dates as the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. So we'll do 3 consecutive weeks. Obviously, week 1 is session 1, week 2, session 2, and week 3 is session 3. And if you can't make all of those dates work, just remember these are recorded sessions, so everybody who's enrolled in that will get a recap immediately following the session. So if you miss a session, you won't really miss anything. You can go back and watch it on your own time. And those sessions are $250. You'll see an email from me once I've kind of solidified those and picked the time that's going to work best for everybody. You'll see an email from me either later this week or early next week.
And Chad, just to clarify, we're real careful, guys. We really don't try to upsell you anything. Everything we give you that you need to be successful is included in your subscription. But we have had a number of requests for additional training, and that's what prompted Chad to develop this program. When you complete the program, Chad, you also get a probate what did we decide to call it? The certification and the
it's certified probate expert certification. And
okay. You can hang that on your wall and put it on your business card that you're a certified probate expert. And we are, over the next 6 months to a year. Going to work on getting that approved in some locations for continuing education also. One other thing, Chad, that we was discussed while you were gone. We missed our probate role play call for this month, and I said I would address that when you get back. The probate role play call is normally the first Wednesday of every month, and the first one was great. We had 30, 40 people show up. We had some really good real-life situations. With you gone and with us developing the divorce, we did not do it in September, but let's pick that up again for October. And let's just say that if it's okay with all of y'all, we're going to schedule the next probate role play call for the first Wednesday in October at 2 o'clock Eastern. And we'll send notices out to everyone. Does that work for you, Chad?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, excellent. All right, and we'll send notices out for that. And that's enough from us, guys. Thank you for the questioner. Again, we need more than one question today.
Really is taking advantage of, correct? I mean, there's...
Wow, somebody got in there. That was unusual. I don't know what that was, but let me activate our first questioner. And again, if you have a question, hit *6 and then hit 1. Area code 612, you're up.
Hey, it's Arnie. As usual, I got the first question.
We love you, Arnie. You ask great questions, buddy. Help yourself.
Thank you. So, well, this is the first time I've got to ask one with Chad, so I'm excited for that.
Good.
So I just made my first 2 calls or days where I time blocked 8 to 10 a.m. to call my probate leads, my first round. I dialed the phone 33 times. I talked to 18 people, and I set my first listing appointment today.
Awesome. Boy, that is
great.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
We're
so that was
in the
awesome.
background. You actually got on the phone and prospected. Amazing.
No, I appreciate that. So it felt really good to make my first call. But, Chad, I had a question for you. So now I got some experience under my belt a little bit. And so I found, the landmines I'm running into. How do you open? Okay, if you're doing an outbound call, what is your go-to? Hey, this is Chad. Is it what do you say?
Personally, I do. I use ringless voicemail because I'm not the prospector that you are. I just don't have the time to do it all. So most of my calls are inbound. When I do the outbound, Jim has a really good way of because these phone numbers sometimes, because of the nature of how we get the phone numbers, it's not always the executor. It could be, if you're on phone number 5, it could be the executor's wife or, one of the other heirs that's not the executor. So it's good to kind of preface it with, hi, this is Arnie. I'm calling from ABC Real Estate. I was trying to get in touch with, John Doe, and just open it as a generic conversation and find out who you're talking to. If it is John Doe, then you can kind of move into a very similar script to your inbound. Well, hey, John, listen, I'm calling because I sent you a letter last week. Just wanted to make sure you got that and you understood why we sent it. Did you see that letter? And mention your letter to kind of warm up the conversation. And if he says no, then you can explain to him what the letter was and what it is you do and move into your, what I call the probate USP or unique selling proposition. If he says he got the letter and he doesn't need your help or, cue any other objection, then you can kind of take it down that path. But I would try to be generic at first on the outbound call, just in case you don't have the actual decision maker. Find out who you're talking to first. And then reference the letter, and then take the conversation. Take the conversation whichever way it needs to go.
Whatever you do, don't bark at them.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. Thank you.
Hey, Arnie, one thing you said there, I think that's great. In your first round, you actually made contact with about half of the attempted calls. That's pretty good. What time of day were you calling? Oh, you said first thing in the morning, right?
Yep. So I just went off the MIT study. So basically my time blocking sessions are between 8 and 4 and 4 and 6. So 4 and 6 p.m. So I'll do it 8 to 10 a.m. and then 4 to 6 p.m. because those are the MIT studies where they had the highest contact rate.
Dude, you get a gold star from me personally because you use the resources we have. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear you.
Well, yeah, man. Well, I mean, like
Chad,
you said, you guys got the roadmap, so I'm just following it.
Chad, would you tell everybody, because before I even spoke to Arnie, I think he had read virtually every word in our website, and I can see that it's paying off for him. Tell the group what he's talking about with the MIT study and where they can see that.
So MIT did a study of, I believe it was 86,000 real estate prospecting calls. And there's a very in-depth report that you can find in subscriber resources. But in a nutshell, your best prospecting blocks are 8 to 10 and 4 to 6 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If you look at the data, it's almost pointless to make calls on Mondays and Fridays. So the way I set my prospecting blocks up are 8 to 10 in the morning, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 to 6, and then 1, 7 to 9 on Wednesdays. What that allows me to do is go on listing appointments on Friday and Monday. So when I get my leads, I'll order mail on Thursday. And then that gives me 2 business days for the mail to be delivered. So I'm making calls on Tuesday for listing appointments that I set on Friday or Monday. So you're always out of the office on Fridays and Mondays, and you're always in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during those blocks. And you can backfill appointments here and there. But statistically, it only makes sense to call during those times if you look at that report. But so take a look at it and kind of compare it to your own prospecting and see if you can make some improvements in the number of contacts you're making.
Arnie, yeah, that's great. And Arnie, you go ahead, Arnie, please.
Oh, I was going to say I got another question.
Please. And Arnie, I was just going to say, if you would send us an email that with your quick results, if you would, and we'll share it on the website. We love giving people credit that are following the program.
Yeah, no problem. So I brought up another question that I already had, but then you kind of already, at least brought it up even more to light. So I did the voiceless dial. So our process was, we got the mailers, we mailed them out. Like a few days later, I think we voice dialed maybe on a Thursday or Friday last week. I didn't really follow up with it that well, and then I started calling to, these last 2 days. When you do the slide dial, there's like 3 or 4 numbers on there. I go to the first one, if it's no good, I go to the second. If it's no good, I go to the third. If it's no good, then, whatever picks up. Then I make a note that what number was a good number. So when you slide dial, how are you slide dialing all those numbers? Are you taking all 3 that you provide in that and slide dial them all?
I can answer that for you, Arnie. The first time, I tested this program for 6 months in Florida, and I think I've told you guys I took 14 listings and I flipped 2 properties. And I always just broadcast to all the phone numbers. But the first time I did it, I put my caller ID, and I had about 60 people call me back in 10 minutes saying, like they won the lottery. What did I inherit? Did I inherit something? So all the wrong phone numbers called me back first. So I learned on the slide broadcast. The next time I did it, I included in my message, hey, my name is Jim. I noticed from my records, from the county records, that it looks like you may be the executor of an estate in Florida. If you're not, I may have the wrong number. No need to call me back. If you do have property in Florida you're looking to sell, please give me a call. And that cut way back on the people calling me back that were wrong phone numbers. And then the other thing you can do, by the 3rd or 4th month, I stopped putting my caller ID in there because it eliminated all those reflex callbacks without listening to the message. And then the people that called me back were only the ones that actually listened to the voicemail first.
Okay, so you took out, so they didn't know who was calling you. It just came in as unknown.
Yeah, and Tim, I don't know if you have an opinion on that. I've heard, some people say always put your caller ID in there, but I found I got less insta calls back from people that didn't know why I was calling. And at least after I took that out, then everybody who called me back had listened to the message, and they knew they didn't need to call me back if it was the wrong number, and they knew why I was calling them. So,
Yep.
and go ahead, Tim. You wanted to comment?
Yep. Only observation I have about that is that, yes, it cuts down on the people calling you back who you don't have any, who don't have property, you don't have anything, it's the wrong person, all that. However, the other side of it is that any kind of an inbound call, if you've got a good story to tell about why you called them, it's the old, you might find a truffle under that tree. And if you've got a good story, 10 seconds worth of conversation with, okay, well, I'm really sorry that, I troubled you about that. I am a realtor, and, we aggressively prospect, and we're one of the best in the area. And, oh, by the way, do you or anybody else are you interested in selling? Are you looking to buy a house? Might as well ask while I've got you here. Nice, easy way to do that. And if you've got the time and you can do it, and I know in your circumstance, because we were, trying to build a business and all that, you really wanted to only try to talk to those sellers. But I think you may be missing some opportunity. You've invested in the call. Anybody's going to call you back, you might as well take a shot at telling them your story. So it's your choice. Either way works.
And you prompted something, Tim, a thought too from me that different markets are different. If you're in Ventura, California, you're getting 20 leads a month, then you want to talk to everybody you possibly can. If you're in Miami, Florida, and you're getting 300 leads a month, you only want to talk to the people that are qualified. So it's the way you send out that voice broadcast is probably going to vary a little bit depending on volume and depending how busy you are.
Got it. I got a question for Chad. What do you do with people that say not interested, the house is already sold, or you got the wrong person, or my brother's handling that, or whatever? How do you respond to those questions, those three?
So in that order, if they're not interested because the home is sold, you can just say, okay, well, take that as a branding opportunity. Say, okay, well, listen, I'm glad you got it sold. Just remember us if there's anyone else that you can think of that might need help selling a home they've inherited or any other home. We do have a great team of people that help executors who need it. If you have the wrong person, I would you want to try to find out who you have first. It could be a relative, it could be a spouse. Find out who that person is and say, okay, well, listen, do you know how to get a hold of John Doe? I'd really like to speak with him. And the last one was.
And you might want to let him know I'm not a bill collector.
Yeah.
I have some good news for him. Exactly.
And what was the last objection? Was they don't need your help? Was that it?
Yeah, they don't need my help.
On that one, I smile, and then I list the house. So anytime that I've been told that they don't need my help, I'm going to sell this thing on my own, then I smile to myself and I hit it head on, because what they're telling you is, I really, really need your help, but my ego won't let me tell you that. However, I'm curious enough that I called you back. So you need to understand the personality type of the person you're on the phone with. Typically, when you hear that, it'll be somebody with a fairly strong type A personality. And if they really didn't want your help or want anything to do with you, they wouldn't have taken the time to call you back. So to me, it's a bit of a cry for help. And you just have to get that straight in your own head and say, okay, so I need to turn this ship around and get this, start the conversation. So, and you start that with agreeing with them. Listen, Mr. Jones, I understand. I mean, not everybody thinks they can sell their property. And you can layer in, whatever script you use. I mean, a really good script is the FSBO statistics. Statistically, a for sale by owner will sell for about 18% less in the marketplace. And I think the statistic is 93% of those end up selling with a realtor in the long run. So you can kind of layer in some of those statistics and show them the problem they don't know they have yet, and just encourage them to give you an opportunity. So, well, listen, Mr. Smith, we've got a team of people built specifically to help people who inherit properties get them sold for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. And there's a lot of things that you might not expect a realtor to do that our team can do for you. So I think it's only fair that you give us an opportunity to really show you what value we can bring. I've got a spot on Friday at 3. Would that be a good time to drop by the house and just talk for a few minutes? And, don't ask him if he wants to meet. Just assume that he wants to meet you, and give him a time. And if that time doesn't work, give him one other time. And just get in the kitchen and start to build rapport. If you can get face-to-face with him where he can relax, usually when that happens to me, they'll be really guarded when you get to the house, and they won't say much. And once they realize that you're a much higher level professional than their expectation of a realtor, then they will, like, the walls will come down and they'll flood you with their life story, and you'll walk away with the listing. But anytime somebody says, I don't need your help, I usually get that listing within 48 hours.
It reminds me of, Chad, you walk into a clothing store, you're obviously there to buy clothes, and the salesperson walks up, what's the first thing most people say? I'm just looking. No, I'm not really here to, okay, well, what are you looking for? Can I show you, the people that are the most susceptible to being sold or that need the help the most are the ones that tend to be the most defensive against admitting it. So I think you're spot on there. Wasn't one of your first probate deals that exact same situation, Chad?
Yeah, she said, I don't need any damn realtor to help me. I've had it on the market for 6 months myself. And I was like, all right.
So you're doing great. Hey, by the way,
I sold that house in a blizzard in less than 24 hours and got in trouble because I sold it too quick.
There you go. By the way, Arnie, thank you so much, and you're welcome to stay on. We don't have any other questioners. We have about 8 minutes. We have about 8 minutes left, just in case someone else does have a question. Please, right now, hit *6 and then hit 1. Otherwise, welcome to the Arnie Show. Go ahead, Arnie.
Well, we're all working together.
Sure.
So I guess what my next question is how do you then, we got batch one, so that's round 1, and then we just got our batch 2, which we haven't, sent out yet, the mailers or just even imported into our CRM. But so I'm going through, what we've decided is we're not going to call anybody else. We're only calling certain cities. We're not going to use the whole list because I don't really care about 90% of those cities that are on the list, and that's fine. But my question is how do you process your calls from, your first batch to your second batch to your third batch? Are you just going through names and following up? Or what's your system like from, your first batch to your second to your third batch when you're phone calling?
Yep. Let me back up to the first part of your statement there. You said you were getting rid of 90% of them. Based on what? The last known address?
Not 90%. I would say realistically I'm getting rid of probably, what would you say, 120? Actually 50%. Because I don't want to drive to those places to sell.
So that's I'm assuming you're using the column deceased last known address. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So what if that's a family member's house? What if that's a nursing home? What if that's an apartment? What if that person lived in a high-end assisted living in the suburbs on the other end of town, but he owned 15 commercial buildings that he needs to sell? So if you just because that zip code's too far away, if you scrub that out, it might have cost you $3 or $4 to market to that family for 90 days, and you could have missed a multi-million-dollar listing or referral opportunity. So I think cutting out 50% of your list is going to hurt you more than it's going to help you in the long run. When you can send direct mail and make phone calls for such a little cost, even if it's just a branding opportunity. You know, if you want to reject the listing, every once in a while you're going to have a chance to call the agent across town that does as good a job on that side of town as you do on your side and say, hey, man, just throw me 25%, and you can hand him a listing. So that's the first thing I'll say is be careful how you scrub your list, because
that makes sense.
The cease/known address is not necessarily the subject property that you're trying to list. And a lot of people make that mistake because they think, oh, this has to be the property. But if you go through and look, you're going to see, you know, like you'll see addresses that are on main commercial streets, and those will be apartment buildings or assisted living complexes. The primary residence could be anywhere in town, or they could have, you know, vacation homes anywhere that they just don't know what to do with, and you could be the solution. So I caution you on scrubbing out, especially 50%.
That makes sense. Well, then could you take the script, considering you said that, and I'll probably just start calling the rest of the week. But what's your script like for sending them off to another person, or do you go take that first listing appointment no matter where it is?
No, on the initial call, when you learn about the house, you know, there's three main points that I want to know before I set an appointment. That I'm on the phone with a decision maker, that there is a motivation to sell, and actually the two things, that I have a decision maker, and they have a home they want to sell. They understand what value I can provide. As soon as those three things are done, I'll set the appointment. So I would go ahead and set the appointment and say, well, listen, you know, since you're on that side of town, I'm actually going to set you up with one of our partners that's in your market. Since we're on this side of town, we can offer the highest level of service if we partner with other really good agents. So I'm going to have Bill Jones call you. Bill's on your side of town. He'll take care of you. If there's ever anything I can do for you, please save my number and call me back. But you should hear from Bill in the next hour or so. And present it as Bill is your partner, because that's what he is. I mean, he's a strategic referral partner, right? So make it look like it's under one roof, which gives you even more credibility. And, you know, warm that appointment up for Bill before you even send him the referral.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But going back to your question, you said, how do you manage the multiple moving parts of a campaign? So I use Top Producer, and it doesn't matter what CRM you use. When you do your lead import, you should name that list. And the way I code mine is I do probate month and year. So it would be probate August 2015 is the name of that list when it goes in. So anytime I go into my system, I can go to contacts, import, and I can see every probate list for every month. So when I want to make a round of calls or, you know, do any prospecting or mail, I can go ahead and pull up probate August 2015, and only those leads show up. So it's all in how you import your list.
Okay, so, but you're saying what percentage of your, would you say do you do inbound versus outbound prospecting?
I do 100% inbound.
So you do not do any outbound processing. So basically your program.
But you know what, Arnie, if I can interject, I tell everybody in here, don't base it on Chad and I. We're not, you know, we have several businesses we're running, so we've had to implement the system to be as, you know, as time free as possible. The most productive way is what you're doing. Don't copy Chad, but
yeah, dude, if you're contacting 60% of your prospecting calls, keep doing that. Don't change anything. That's phenomenal.
Well, that's the thing, because like you brought up a good point, but then the other thing, because you said, well, call everybody. And it's like, all right, well, I'll call everybody, but then on the other end, you're doing you're doing a bigger net, but you're probably getting a lower return rate because I'm probably getting a higher contact rate. Does that make sense?
Guaranteed.
But it's very interesting is that, okay, let me ask you this. I know you can't say, but I mean, my goal is to get a conversion rate out of my actions. So whatever I need to call 100, 500, or 1,000, at the end of the day, I'm going to know basically how many dials I need to make, how many contacts I need to talk to, how many appointments I need to set. And from the way your system is set up, what would you say about when you send out 1,000 of those slide dials, how many people call you back, and then how many people do you set an appointment with?
I get about 4% call back, and I typically set 100% appointments.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
For whatever reason, I don't really know why. I guess it's just the nature of the message, but I referenced the letter in my message, and the letter also points to my website. So they've had the opportunity to really find out what it is I'm offering, because the website's an extension of the letter, and the call reminds them that they got that. So I think the ones that call me back, and if I look at Google Analytics, I can pretty much prove this, but the ones that call me back have read the letter, gone to the website, then gone to the phone. So they're typically very, very highly motivated, and that's why I have such a high conversion rate, because I've already done my job of articulating value through the direct mail and the website. So my calls are typically come list me, and sometimes they're 3, 4, 6, 8 months down the line, but when they call, they're ready. And I would say, on average, we have a home on MLS within 48 hours of the phone call.
Okay, let me ask you, are we out of time?
No, it's okay. And I think my partner Tim wanted to make a comment, but we're okay, Arnie. We've got we got 2 or 3 minutes, and you're going to be the only questioner today. So go ahead.
Okay, cool. So, with that said, what based upon that, like we were just the same sample size from your tracking, how many times do you feel that, or that you need to contact that lead to get that call back?
So what we do is 3 letters and 3 ringless voicemail. So I'll send letter 1, call 1, letter 2, call 2, and I space those 30 days apart. So it's different than FSBOs or expires, where you just bang the phones and you call 15 times until you get somebody, because you have 75 other realtors trying to get the same listing. It's a lot different. So it's pretty safe to assume you have very little, if no, competition in this space. And people move at different stages. So if they're highly, highly motivated to sell the home, they'll call you on the first touch, and they'll say, just get me out of this. For the ones that are still grieving, or moving at a slower pace, or just aren't ready to make a decision, I don't want to call that person 7 times in the first month and turn them off because I'm being too aggressive. So, and you can test and try different things. I'm just telling you what I've done. And I've spread my campaign over 90 days with 3 phone calls and 3 letters.
Got it.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is this, Arnie, and this is really not so much to you or anybody else, and that is that, anytime you're dealing with statistical information, and that statistical information has to do with a lot of very subjective variables, obviously it's important to say, your results may vary, and some of the things that may cause variables in that are the geography that you're dealing with. You may find that you're in a market where a lot of probates are may not have as much a percentage that actually have property in them, because it's an area where there's a lot of estate business, and your results are going to vary. And what I would say to you is that after you've done this for 90 days, then you can develop your own statistical information based on the results that you're getting. And I think that's what you said as well. You said the exact same thing, that once you've done this, you'll have a better handle on what's there. But everybody's results are going to be different. You may, Chad, and it's also, there's some seasonality to this as well. I mean, there's a lot of other variables. So don't lock in on statistical data until you've done it in your own market.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, hey, Arnie, we are out of time now. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
No, and we really appreciate your input, and I think you helped a lot of people on this call, so thank you so much for asking great questions. I always end these calls by saying, take one thing that you learned today from Chad or Arnie and implement it into your business, and come back and share your success story with us next week, guys. Thank you so much for coming today. You know where we are if you need us before the next call. Make it a great week.